Hopefully you were someplace sunny.
Oh no, I was sick.
Oh,
So I was
Well, you're feeling better.
yes.
My daughter's doing treatment like 6 weeks ago and we've pretty much had like everything.
That's what happens, you get everything your child gets.
Yeah. I'm taking the maximum amount of zinc I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that part of what we approved.
No, I remember that when my kids were
Yeah.
Anything
It's
any
kind of a
child
brutal
had,
few weeks.
You got it too.
So I'm wondering if there may be math that you're doing that sort of has crossed over.
That's kind of what I think.
There may be more to it than this staff presentation.
So yes.
I first thought it was what's the
Yeah. She said there's actually coffee and stuff in the back, so I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was available for us.
You ask a lot of really good questions, so taking notes and learning.
I'm Karen Anderson.
I'm Anne.
Before my
Nice to
wife-
meet you.
That counts for
Now, do you live on the
split up.
I live in Windsor, on the Larimer County side of Windsor, so.
Towards the interstate.
Yeah, it's growing that way, it's grown up, it's grown up, it's like about 66.
Right.
Kind of around you.
Did you play into high school?
I'm not yet.
That's amazing.
No, we've been coming
There was
to
none of that other,
Nothing else there?
no.
Just, you can't even try, it was down on Saturday.
And then it was the fairgrounds.
So we've been.
That was it.
That's it.
And now that's,
Twin Peaks Mall's already gone.
yeah, right.
Really have a
Mall.
special place in my heart.
It's kind of like back to the future.
It is.
Where'd it go?
But yeah, so, but anyway, it was fun to do, and it's, I don't think we have the same
So
growth
you're
appetite here,
people I think
but
are
some of those things are not really established for a long time. Look at the birds, I'll just switch them kind of birds there.
Yep, that sounds great.
Yeah, so it's really interesting,
They have
and I
the
think
best
this
way
kind
of
of helps.
Colorado.
Okay, all right. I know where I'm going next week. There you go. Thank you.
This is 250 homes or something, so your respective size communities.
Yeah, I know. And what's coming and what's on paper is,
I'm sure the.
It's pretty neat. It's pretty cool.
The
Water situation probably need to be a little more formal than that.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
He might be joining on
We
Zoom.
will hear it, and there is a water.
And made that arrangement for him on Tuesday of this week.
No, I've done it too. I've done that too when I lived
May not be able to attend. There's some illness.
Hillsdale Park and that development right there. We're not impacted because we have a great location. Parents that we could be. Yeah, so that's what we have.
don't even wanna get into that, you know?
Yeah.
I see somebody trying to drive out.
Yeah.
At least drive around.
And we're
Skip
expecting
over there.
everyone
Yeah,
present.
exactly.
No,
It can make a big
Chris
difference.
Coots can't be here, or is it Kurt? Kurtz, thank you. Can't be here, and I've not heard from Melissa.
Okay.
She wasn't here last time either.
Yeah, we do. 5:07.
Yeah, I've not heard from her.
Right now, but we have 94, so it's.
Yeah. That'd be a bummer. And we're done. And she's aware of that.
I told Chris, but
I would probably let her know that.
so Anne, on that second item, I think it's item
Number 5.
number 5, I live in Farmstead. Now, I'm close enough
End of the day, right?
that someone could argue I'm impacted by it. Last time this came up, I just recused myself and left. I'm gonna have to do that again.
I think that's
Yeah,
smart,
that
because
didn't
even
seem
though
like something
you
we
probably
needed
won't
to see.
benefit financially from the approval, it's the whole appearance of
That's
a
what,
conflict.
yeah, that's what we were just talking about, the appearance of impropriety, they wanna avoid. And then someone gets called into question if I voted on it.
Yeah, and they would still have there's still quorum if you would
Yeah.
recuse yourself, so I would just make that announcement at the beginning and.
Yeah, because we'll have 4 here.
All be made clear, because yeah, the presentation.
Good call, and thanks for letting me know.
Yes.
If the audience is wanting to participate during the public hearing, there is a sign up sheet up here.
Speakers.
Commissioner Kurtz is joining us via Zoom.
Oh, Zoom, okay. Okay, cool.
And I'm
Well-
going to unmute him so he can participate. Is that what you guys have been doing?
Yes, that'd be great. And if you can let us know too, since we don't have it on our screen, when he wants to, if there's anything specific, that'd be great.
Mike and my husband have a bromance.
I have no doubt. At this time, I'll call to order the Town of Berthoud Planning Commission meeting Thursday, February 23rd at 6 p.m. Michelle, can you please take roll call?
Chair Dowker.
Here.
Vice Chair Anderson.
Here.
Secretary Kurtz is absent tonight. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Wing.
Here.
Commissioner Feldebush. Not here. Commissioner Van Betham.
Can I ask a clarifying question? I thought you said that Commissioner Kurtz was on Zoom.
Oh, he is on Zoom. He just hasn't unmuted himself.
So he would be here,
Yeah, but he's here.
okay,
I just don't know if he's participating.
okay. I just wanna
Okay,
make
so
sure
he's
that-
here, but he's not able to unmute himself.
Okay, but he's technically here in
Yeah,
attendance, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just wanna make sure.
Can you all hear me? I think.
Yes,
it is
yes.
now.
We can hear you. Great. Thank you, Commissioner. At this time, we will move to agenda item 3, which is the consent agenda and consists of the meeting minutes from the Planning Commission meeting held on February 9th, 2023. And so we have a motion to consider.
So moved. Second.
For my purposes, could you follow the move to approve the February, would you actually state that and then
Sure, yeah,
have a second? That
Okay.
way we can do a proper roll call vote and
sure,
everything.
yes.
Sorry, I'll,
A commissioner may move to approve the February 9th, 2023 meeting minutes.
I will move to approve the February 9th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting minutes.
Okay,
I will second that.
Sorry, I'm still getting to know your guys' names here. Okay,
so we have a motion and a second, and can we have a roll call vote then?
Vice Chair Anderson,
Yes.
Secretary Kurtz. Secretary Kurtz. He said yes. Commissioner Wing,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Van Betham,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
and Chair Dowker.
I will abstain because I was not here. So item 4 on the agenda is the Farmstead Acres minor subdivision, with an introduction by Ann Johnson.
Right, Madam Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Tonight we're going to hear the Farmstead Acres minor subdivision. This project is on a 9-acre parcel. It's located south of Highway 56 and east of Fickle Farm. There's also Larimer County, an unincorporated Larimer County property just to the west. The intent for this evening's hearing is for the applicant's request for that minor subdivision. Baseline Engineering and their planners, Will Charles, will be presenting details of the applicant's request tonight. The applicant is also available to answer any questions that you might have. And then in your packet and with the staff report, there are the criteria for approval of the minor subdivision for your reference as well.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just gonna pull up the PowerPoint real quick. Oh. Sorry, that's a secret. That was the wrong one. This one's the one we're doing. Alrighty, that one looks one looks more like the one I was looking for. Yep, so as mentioned, the first item on the agenda is going to be the Farmstead Acres. For any of you here 2 weeks ago, this should look pretty familiar. It's the same picture. This time, we're going to be talking about the minor subdivision. Previously, 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the neighborhood master plan and rezoning. So as Ann mentioned, this is a 9-acre parcel just south of Mountain Avenue. As far as the minor subdivision goes, as you can see here, it's going to split the parcel into 4 lots. Those lot lines would subdivide along those new zone districts if approved at the Board of Trustees meeting next week. As far as those criteria go, it's pretty simple for a minor subdivision. The first one is compliance with code, comprehensive plan, and the port plan. As mentioned in the previous meeting as well as this one, staff has found that it meets the criteria for each of those different plans. And then as well, Plan Commission also should consider public comments when considering the request for a minor subdivision. There weren't any in specific to the minor subdivision. Obviously, we heard some testimonies 2 weeks ago as far as the neighborhood master plan, the rezoning, and so those are being addressed through those processes, but there weren't any in particular to the minor subdivision itself. With that being said, this one's a pretty short and sweet section of the PowerPoint, but we are recommending approval with conditions for this minor subdivision, with that one condition being an updated title commitment that has to be dated within 30 days of the conditional approval. And I can answer any questions if you have them.
Do you guys, does anyone have questions?
So this is just the zoning and follow-up to what we heard 2 weeks ago. There's nothing else that's.
Correct. This all the minor subdivision would do would create those new property lines between where those new zone districts would be if they're approved.
Got it. Okay, so
Right.
it just it does the carving that we did 2 weeks ago.
Correct. Yep.
I'm good.
Is there any other questions or there's a motion before us?
I would move that we approve the minor subdivision with the following condition, that the applicant shall provide an updated title commitment dated no more than 30 days from the date of the conditional approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. And Michelle, if you can take roll call, please, thank you.
Chair Dowker,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Belfen,
Yes.
Commissioner Wing,
Yes.
Secretary Kurtz,
Yes.
and Vice Chair Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you, the motion carries. Thank you. Item 5 on the agenda is a public hearing on the Farmstead second filing with an introduction by Ann Johnson.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Chair, members of Planning Commission. This is again for the Farmstead second filing of the final plat. It is on a 95.1 acre parcel. It's located at the southwest corner of Mountain Avenue and North County Line Road. The intent this evening is to hear the applicant's request for that final plat to allow 285 residential lots and 30 tracts consistent with the preliminary plan. And baseline will present details of the applicant's request, and the applicant is also available. There are criteria for approval in the packet, and I believe that Commissioner Anderson had something she wanted to say.
Yes, I'm going to formally recuse myself from this matter and I would request that be recorded in the minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Alrighty. So if you'll notice, we can see the previous project in this aerial, so they're pretty close, just a couple doors over. Hence the sharing of the name Farmstead to start the two projects. This project previously in former years went through a neighborhood master plan, rezoning, and a preliminary plat, as mentioned. With those, BFIT is that it was rezoned to kind of a decent number of residential zone districts, so that R1, R2, R3, R4. As you go up in those numbers, the higher the densities can be, as well as that C1, which on this aerial, you can kind of see that parcel 1. Top right is that commercial district, so that's the northeast kind of quarter of the project. And then, as you kind of move into those more residential, existing residential to the southeast, it kind of gets into those lower density zone districts. So as mentioned, this previously went through a preliminary plat review, and this final plat is consistent with that. So the main difference between the final plats and minor subdivisions, which what we heard on the previous case, is this preliminary plat phase of the project. So for larger scale developments, they'll go through this preliminary plat. Final plat is the secondary step. So they have a little bit different criteria for these compared to those minor subdivisions. So for final plats, the first criteria is substantial conformance with the preliminary plat. Staff has found that it did not exceed any of these A, B, C, D, or E requirements for meeting their preliminary plat. Second one is the same, so that's that conformance with the code, comprehensive plan, and port plan. And then the last one is all applicable technical standards, including the provision of water, insufficient amount and quality have been met. This plan was also reviewed by utilities, public works, engineering, and they did not find issues with the proposal. So with that being said, we are recommending approval of the final plat. This one also gets a condition. The condition being that the applicant will address all outstanding staff comments, including a non-potable water agreement, roundabout designs, and a reimbursement agreement after. And I don't remember as far as order of operations of how we do this, but I can answer any questions, or the applicant also has a presentation, so. happy to do
Generally,
that
we would
first.
ask that the applicant present, and then we have the public hearing, and then the board, the commissioners would ask questions of
Alrighty.
either of you relative to concerns by the public.
Then I will, I'll go ahead and pull up their PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh. Give that a second try. Third try. Oh, what's this? No?
Lost my,
Oh, it's up
Oh,
there.
it's working up there, just on the screen.
no, just gotta get it to go over. Let me try this one more time. It's this one right here, correct?
I think so.
There you go. And then there's your clip, and here's your laser pointer if you need it.
Arrow down.
And this button right here will to the next slide that way. Okay?
Very good, thank you. All right, we'll see if I have this. Members of the Planning Commission, thanks for having us again. Good to be back.
back. It's been a couple months. Steve Schroyer, Schroyer Resources, 900 Greenfields Court, Fort Collins, Colorado, here representing postmodern development. We also have here tonight TB Group, our planners, Northern Engineering, civil engineers. Matt Delich, the infamous Matt Delich, is not here tonight, but we'll see if he makes it next time. Everybody knows where the site is, southwest corner of County Line Road and State Highway 56. Just once again to go through kind of what we presented last time and where we are today. This is where we are today and what we recently submitted. You see the 36 lots, 60-foot lots are the darker yellow ones in this fashion. The 70, 50-foot lots are the lighter yellow. 87 40-foot wide lots are the darker color, alley loaded. And then this was an area that we spoke about last time. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, where the 35-foot wide lots are now with the alley in the background. Then you also see townhomes, 30 townhomes here. I believe there's 29 townhomes in this area. Future apartments, future commercial, as all per the neighborhood master plan that we spoke about last time. From last time to this time, if you remember, some of the conditions that was placed upon us was the red arrow was the roundabout on Highway 56, which you now see clearly over here on the right-hand side. We have that big old beautiful roundabout. The yellow arrow was where we had spoken with town staff about adding 30 townhomes. You guys had seen a preliminary layout of that last time. This is kind of the final fashion of how it will function with access and the way it lays out. The blue arrow obviously is the roundabout at Nebraska and County Road 1. The green arrow was the area I think we spent the most time on last meeting, was adding the alley back in here behind these lots. We had asked that we take it out and went through access issues and things like that, and we agreed to put that back in. So that really is the main differences between where we started and went through town board and back to you guys for final approval and a final plat. The park stays the same. We didn't really change anything with the park. You see the clubhouse and the pool, the parking lot, the playground that we're working with the BAP. This is where we also talked about there was the raw water irrigation pond inside of this area. We moved it to the south for safety reasons and for water drawdown, so it looks a little bit better for the neighbors and it's a little bit more safer, especially next to the playground. Just to refresh your memory on some of the renderings we had last time for the pool and clubhouse design. The reason you don't see this on the plan is that we're working on that as a separate, it needs to be submitted via building permit. We're working on that. That'll be coming in shortly to town staff as a building permit item. This is the Berthoud adaptive park project we're working on. Everybody, I think, in the town knows about this. We've been working hard with these guys. They're busy raising money. I think here at the end is where they were. Last time we were here, they were at 456,000 and about 46% of their goal. Now they're sitting around 492,000, about 49%. So still looking for money for those guys. If you want to donate some more money, we'll take it. That'll be coming in as well. Then we did receive some neighborhood comments. Michael Imimi, I think you say his name is, he was asking a question, with no construction traffic on Dorothy Drive between Michigan and Nebraska, it's not the preferred route for us for construction traffic, and we will try to limit traffic as best we can. We can't commit to no traffic because it is a public street, and there also might be days where we do need to use that for access. And then there's also public safety and welfare. Fire truck might need to come through there, so we can't really block things off, but we'll do our best to try to keep construction traffic off of that route. Then he also said that heavy rains and flooding near Dorothy Drive and Rocking Chair, the extension of Michigan, when it goes through with the storm system, should take care of all those problems. Right now, it just runs out into the middle of nowhere because the road doesn't continue. Carla Kia asked about the design of the apartment intersections. What would those be like? Those will be per the Lucas standards. We're forced to follow the Lucas standards. Where do the visitors park? There will be designated parking spaces per town code in the new apartment layout. What are the height of the townhomes? They are 2-story. A tiny lot comment, height of the units, they will be also 1 and 2-story. What happened to the non-pot system? I don't know where that comment came from. The non-pot system has always been attributed to this project. It is designed and will continue in filing too. Will the non-pot accommodate the entire neighborhood? Yes. Where is the 12.5 acre commercial tract? We just kind of showed that it's in the tract A. How many pickleball courts are slated? Zero. We have bocce ball courts slated right now. We are getting pressure for pickleball courts, so we might come back and bring those in here. We will see. How many pickleball courts are at the apartments? If any, they will be private and doesn't matter. And we're not here talking about the apartments tonight anyways, but there were questions that I thought I would just answer those. Who is LGI Homes? They are the home builder and landowner. Who are the developers? Postmodern Development out of Fort Collins is the developer. Who is in consideration? I assume that means who are the other builders? There will be other builders, and we don't have any at this time other than LGI. Don't want new phase to look monochromatic. That's not our intention. When we submit the building elevations, we'll meet the new town architectural guidelines. And has the community landscape been awarded yet? I guess the construction bid. Not at this time. Nobody has been awarded the contract. Jim and Michelle Anderson expressed concerns about the apartments as well. They feel they did not fit and under impression that the plans had changed from apartments to townhomes. The apartments are not part of this FDP that we're talking about tonight or the final plat. However, the apartments are an approved use in this zoning. They have been shown since the beginning, day one of the project being approved. And also I'll add 3 to 4 apartment buildings have been removed and replaced with approximately 30 townhomes. So I don't know if that's where it got turned around to where they thought departments are going away and over townhomes. We did remove some buildings and added in 30 townhomes. I mean, it might be 29 townhomes, 29 or 30 townhomes. Apartments do fit in this area. It's situated along Highway 56. It's adjacent to the future commercial area. And it has easy access to Highway 56 and the County Road 1. So that's where we were. So defining recommendations from staff was that we will address the outstanding staff comments, including a non-potable water agreement, roundabout designs, and a reimbursement agreement. We have submitted to CDOT for a Highway 56 roundabout. Got our initial set of comments back, of which all seem very favorable. The town is actually the applicant for that roundabout, since it's in a state highway right away. So we're working with the town on that, and everything seems to be moving along quite nicely. The non-potable water agreement is something that I haven't heard of. It's the first time I really saw it today. I wasn't aware that we had to do a non-potable water agreement. I don't see it in code, and I don't know what that is. So if I could just have maybe, I guess, Will or Chris just explain what that is. I think we're okay with it, but I don't know what that is. There already is a non-potable water agreement that was done, I believe, in 2017 or 18. That kind of is the master water agreement for the whole project for Farmstead. So I just would like some clarification on that. And then the reimbursement agreement would be for the 31-inch sewer line that goes up County Road 1. Our project would only require an 8-inch sewer line, and the town is asking for an upgrade to a 31, of which the town would pay its fair share of the upgrade, but we already have no problems with that sewer line being upgraded in that image. So we already have that design in our plans. So with that said, I'll stop there and leave it there. Do you have any questions for me, or want me to sit down and ask questions later?
We will ask questions after the public hearing.
That sounds good.
Thank you so much. At this time, I will open up the public hearing on Farmstead Filing 2. Farmstead Filing Final Plat. And Michael Cook has signed up to speak.
Evening, everyone. Michael Cook, 970 East County Road 8 in Berthoud. That'll be one hat to comment on. I live right across the street next to the cemetery. I have spoken with people with the development about the potential impacts on my property, which are when they make a connection to the Bacon Lake water line, they're gonna be digging up my driveway where I get onto the highway out there. And so we've talked about that, and I feel that they'll be able to keep the road open so Marilyn can get to yoga class this morning. My biggest concern is the roundabout and the potential impacts of the roundabout. There's some sketches that have been done of the roundabout, I think that they've turned in and got comments back on. And what I see is the improvements of the roundabout and the pavement pretty much ending at my driveway. My concern is what's gonna happen to my driveway? Am I still gonna be able to have a driveway? And what's it gonna be like and how am I gonna be able to use it in the future? So as we work through that, I think I'll be here asking questions about that. I have one suggestion. I know that there's been talk and discussion about a new sewer line coming down from the north, down First Street, around the bottom end of Bacon Lake and connecting up somewhere in here. I think there's a 21-inch sewer line poised to cross Highway 56, right where the Bacon Lake line would be coming across Highway 56. Both of them 14, 15, 18, 20 feet deep. So I would suggest that the town should take a look at trying to get that piece of pipe put in under Highway 56 when they open it up one time, instead of repaving it twice. So I hope that someone can look at that and figure out a way to make that happen. So I'd like to switch my hat, and I'm also involved with a project adjacent to this project, Harvest 47. If I can show you where that is on here. Not sure. You're not looking at maps, I don't think. Thank you. This is the Harvest 47 project. I'm involved with that, with the landowner and Habitat for Humanity, and we're coming through there. We have submitted our revised preliminary plat, so it should be getting on your docket very soon. I just wanted to say that we've worked really hard and diligently with the developers of the farmstead to coordinate where we meet. We're sharing alleys, our rear-loaded lots, their rear-loaded lots. We're splitting the alley and sharing that. We're actually making it look like the projects were planned together. Kind of a new concept. So we're very happy with that, moving ahead. And I just want to tell you that as someone living across the street, I'm supportive. Everyone's looking for a place to live, and it's gonna happen. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. There's nobody else that signed up to give public comment on Farmstead's second filing final plat. Is there anyone in Zoom?
And Chair Docker, no one has raised their hand or indicated that they would like to speak.
Thank you. At this time, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the commissioners for questions.
I had one, maybe two questions. If I look at the motion, item number 2, condition number 2, I'm a little leery to sign off on all remaining conditions. That feels like awfully vague wording. Wonder if we have a list, or how do we know what those all remaining conditions are? Sorry, review comments is what it says. Sorry? It says review comments. Oh. Same
Yeah,
thing.
so the majority of the comments are those 3 kind of overarching ones that are on there. The remainder of the review comments are mostly, I would say, in the more grammatical sense of corrections to be made, just minor things that the engineering department noted. Nothing, I would say there's nothing substantial in the rest of those staff comments. Those 3 that are brought out were brought out for a reason to kind of, because they're the majority of it.
All right, that makes sense to me. I know we had a fairly spirited conversation around the roundabout at Nebraska the last time this came through. Is that part of these kind of finalized comments, or is that something that's in design now, or are you still, we sort of left it as work, we kind of didn't make a decision here, we sort of left it as work with staff to do?
Yeah, I believe it's in design still.
Okay, I'm seeing heads nod.
Yeah.
Let the record show that heads are nodding.
Yeah.
So it's actually fully designed and submitted to the town. It will be in the engineering review comments. The one on 56 is the one that needs to go to CDOT.
Gotcha.
That's the one that's a bigger deal. So these baseline will actually be the ones in the town reviewing the Nebraska roundabout. It's already submitted.
So that's already in, it goes through engineering. Will we see that?
No, you guys would see what you
Yeah. Basically, we know there's a roundabout there, but we don't know we'd have to see engineering, I was just kinda curious, okay. And the main roundabout at 56, do we have like a timeline or approval timeframe? Do we know at all sort of what that looks like? I mean, I know it's the
CDOT
state.
is, it's interesting working with CDOT. I like everybody over there. They're really nice people, but they kind of march at their own drum. They just do what they do. And we thought we'd be a little bit farther along than we are, and we're not. But we got good comments this past week. So I'm encouraged that we're gonna be moving along quite nicely. We are trying to hit paving this fall. So by December 1, we're trying to have everything paved. You know, that's our goal. If we have to go to next spring, it means, longer dust in the air, longer everything, so we're trying hard on this fall.
Okay.
And some of the comments, like you were asking about, what are all those other comments, one was like a north arrow was missing. One was a typo on a plat comment, one was text on top of text. Things like that are those minor comments that we would, if there was something major, we'd be sure to bring it up as well, so these guys are right.
Okay, cool. I think that's it for me.
Commissioners?
Yeah, thanks. I have a couple questions and it's good to see the roundabout, so glad to see that in there. I guess I'll start by giving the applicant an opportunity to respond to the comments about the driveway and the impacts of the roundabout on 56.
Mike has a big truck, so I think he'll be okay. No,
We'll be fine.
yeah, we understand that. We're under CDOT's, I guess, parameters for access control on 56. There's only so much we could do. We would like to just open up everybody's driveways to full movements, but it can't happen that way. So we'll kind of be under their thumb with what it needs to look like. And obviously we'll work with Mike and everybody else out there, the dairy, they're gonna have the same issues of how it looks to have their accesses maintained. If they have a full movement now, might they be limited to a right in and right out or a 3/4 when it's all said and done? Very possible. So I don't know, it's something that I can't sit here and tell you what it's gonna be like, other than he will definitely have an access point. They can't take away his access point. They can limit it to a right in and right out though, or a 3/4.
Okay. And do you know if CDOT has requirements on how far the driveway needs to be from the roundabout entrances on a highway with this? I guess maybe the speed limit would play a role, or I don't actually know this, so.
Yeah, well, there are parameters. If you see on the, can we get the image back up? So for instance, you see on our roundabout, you see that white right there?
Yeah,
That's the concrete island. So that's the extent of the island.
yeah.
And I believe this is Mike's property right here. Next one over this way? Okay, so right there. But you still have these other access points here. So there's something that's gonna need to be done with striping in this area.
Yeah.
And that CDOT will tell us what that needs to be. Their access points will remain, but they likely won't be a full movement. The full movement is slated for this street and possibly this street. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Okay. Thank you.
Those are comments we're waiting back from CDOT we should have next week.
Okay. And my second question was regarding the alley that was put back in the yep, that area there. So it looks like it terminates at a trail on the north end. And I was just wondering if there would be some sort of, I don't know, kind of pedestrian barrier
We
there.
have landscaping at the end of it.
Okay.
Just like we would at the end of the townhomes.
Okay.
In these areas over here, we have landscaping at the end of the parking turnarounds.
Yep.
So yeah, there's something to do. If you're talking about more like a car barrier, so someone couldn't drive through there.
Yeah,
I don't believe we have like bollards or anything like that other
Okay.
than landscaping. We can actually, Kathy's sitting right here, I'll have Kathy make sure we go back and put some sort of berm there.
okay,
That we can show something whenever we build it, that'll be a berm, so where cars won't be able to get over it.
yeah, that'd be
That
great.
Makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. And that was it for me.
Just one quick, is this a metro district?
We do not have a metro district.
Thank you.
Okay, just one more. So far, it seems like you guys have done a really good job with kind of communicating with the existing residents and folks from previous phases and stuff. Regarding some of the public comment about just construction traffic, that combined with the potential of there being builders in the future, can we sort of assume that sort of over communication with the existing residents will continue when it comes down to scheduling concrete pours or whatever it might be that might actually be sort of disruptive?
Yeah, if they come through their neighborhood and things like that,
Right.
yes, I mean, we can sure do that. We're already communicating with some other neighbors in the area that aren't here tonight that
Right.
we're already in contact with, so yeah. I mean, my number and Chris's number, we're building the project out, so anybody can call us anytime.
Perfect.
We're happy
Yeah,
to help
that's-
anybody.
I think that shows kind of by the fact that you've got, you know, really good kind of support and from the community, but I think as you start looking at builders and potentially different builders coming in to have those protocols is really good, so I just wanted to kind of check. Okay, great, thanks.
I wanted to thank you for answering all the questions before we even got, I mean, that was really well laid out in the presentation. So I really thank you because I wrote them all down, I highlighted them, I was getting ready to like quiz you about the detention pond and, you know,
We'll do good at
area
quizzes, that's what I
I,
try to
you
do.
know. Well, it's just nice that you are addressing the concerns in the neighborhood, because these are going to be all neighbors. So it's well, and I can tell you that in reference to the flooding and stuff, when we were looking at Rose Farm Acres years ago, they actually had to change the design because of how the water was flowing and because the concerns of the neighbors actually alerted the developer to say, we don't wanna build that far south because there are low ground areas and those basements would flood. So I appreciate that you're hearing them. And really well done. I don't have any other questions. Sure.
First of all, thank you for your investment in the town. This is a substantial project, that's great. And then, do you have a timetable when you think some of these homes will be available? What's that look like?
You know, like I said, we're trying to hit paving for the streets by paving season, which really ends now around December 1st, you know, weather dependent. So we're trying to have paving down there, so you take maybe a 4 to 6 month build, if we can start pulling building permits then, so, you know, spring, hoping to have some product available in spring. And if we could do it now, we would do it right now, but we can't, and so we're trying hard. You saw we have overlot grading going on at risk, overlot grading. There's, you know, based on the comments that we received from town, we kind of know what we need to do. So we're out there moving dirt at risk, you know, hoping that we get approvals tonight so we can keep going and we can get everything done. But we need help. I mean, you know, the weather has set us back a little bit. The two town planners, you know, moving on hurt us a little bit. So it's good to have Ann here. So, you know, hopefully we can get back on track and get things moving, but you know, we need to get going.
Are there any other questions though? Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, we have a motion before us.
I'll move to approve the final plat with the following conditions. Number 1, the applicant shall continue to work with staff to complete a non-potable water agreement. Number 2, the applicant shall continue to work with staff to address all remaining review comments.
I believe the recommendation on the slide was a little bit different than in the packet.
It is a little bit different.
Would you mind putting that back
Yeah.
up so we could see it?
Just put them in both. I actually like that wording better because it actually includes the roundabout comments.
Yeah.
Do I have to like unravel my motion to second?
Amend your
For
motion.
the amendment.
May I amend my emotion then? Okay,
Yes.
I would mend my emotion. I will mend my motion as follows. I will move to approve the final plat with the following condition. Number 1, that the applicant will address all outstanding staff comments, including a non-potable water agreement and roundabout designs and a reimbursement agreement.
Do we have a second for that amended motion?
I'll second.
Thank you. And we would like a roll call vote. Thank you.
Chair Dowker,
Yes.
Secretary Kurtz,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Wink,
Yes.
Commissioner Van Veffen.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes.
A good catch on that.
Oh, yeah.
Very good catch. Yes. Congratulations.
Real quick side note, my husband and I have been trying to watch via Zoom and we're not allowed in to watch, and a neighbor has been trying to watch as well, he's also not allowed in via the internet address that we were sent via mail last week.
Chair Dowker, I have people on Zoom who are participating and I did confirm the ID that was on the agenda that was sent out.
Okay. Do you want- do you want to check the Zoom link with her? That would be great. She's our deputy clerk. But the business before the commission is now finished on that agenda item. I apologize for any inconvenience.
How many received? This is the exact.
There,
So it looks like they, Chair Dowker, it looks like they received a letter with a different Zoom link than what was on the agenda and what was posted.
And who sent that letter out?
County birthday.
That'd be, I sent that letter out. If there was an error, I apologize for that. I'm a little new on the job as well for that, but
So this will be going to the town board of trustees, correct?
for the final plat,
For final plat,
the final plat is approved by planning.
by planning commission, alright, so that would be,
Us, what we just did.
Yep.
I think you need to ask Chris about this.
yep, did you have public testimony that you were wanting to give?
We weren't quite sure exactly what was gonna happen tonight. We were, the neighbor and myself were very interested because it directly affects our residents. And we just wanted to follow along. We did manage to join via YouTube, which is how we knew that the meeting was happening via the town of Berthoud
Can you do me a huge
website.
favor? Can you approach and give your name and address and such, and then that way
Yes.
you're part of the record for feedback that we will need to have as part of the record? Thank you.
My name's Catherine Browning. I live at 219 Old Bessie, or Old Bessie Drive. And we're just, a couple of neighbors and myself were trying to watch via Zoom. We weren't able to log in. My husband kept getting the circle going, it's not happening. We also tried to call in, and because the numbers didn't line up, it just said, meeting's already in session, you can't join. So what we ended up finding was we logged on to the town of Berthoud website where there is a YouTube stream currently going on, and that's how we found out the meeting was going on. But none of us could really join. My husband even commented while you were talking about farmstead filing 2 at about 20 minutes ago, saying, hey, we can't join via Zoom. And obviously because it's the YouTube, and even though there's comments, no one was able to respond, and I don't think anyone was able to read it. So we just wanted to make sure that we were able to comment if we needed to, and move on from there.
If I may, Madam Chair, what we can do, Catherine, is if you'll leave your name and number with Will, who's sitting behind you in the green sweater, we'll make sure that we get information to you. Both items were approved tonight by Planning Commission, but we can make sure that we get information to you so that you can feel like you're informed of what the proposal is.
And Chair Dowker, I do have someone else on Zoom who also said that it sounds like it was all in the mailing, and they also were not able to join because of the mailing, but they did find our agenda with the Zoom link on it.
This is a bit disconcerting. So I would also encourage the developer to, reach out to anyone if they do have further feedback on this. But again, I want to make sure that the town manager is aware of this for anything that we should be doing.
To add more complication, I received the mailing for Farmstead Acres, which had the exact same Zoom link on it. The one that I just showed her was actually for Farmstead Filing 2. So it went out on 2 completely different mailings.
I really appreciate that you took the time to drive in to share with us your feedback and your concerns, because obviously public hearings are meant for public testimony.
We've been here multiple times, so we're very proactive about at least the Farmstead Acres and Farmstead 2, since it directly affects us, so thank you for your help.
Thank you.
And from a staff perspective, I apologize that that happened. We'll make sure that the Zoom is the same each time in letters and all correspondence. We definitely want to make sure that you feel like you're informed, and we'll definitely put you in touch with Will. He'll reach out and make sure that you have the information that you need, and I apologize that that happened.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here's my card too. Reach out to me if anything for development.
This is for Berthoud?
Mine as well. Talk to you again.
Well, I will let staff move forward with that question and topic. Thanks for your follow-up, you guys. And at this time, we are on item number 6, which is reports.
So from a staff perspective, this concludes my first week, and I appreciate your volunteering to serve the town of Berthoud. It's really exciting to be here. I've had my almost 30-year career in planning. 26 of those years have been in northern Colorado, so it's really nice to be here in Berthoud. There's a lot of potential and lots of wonderful things happening here, and it's just a pleasure and an honor to be able to work with you all and the Board of Trustees and the fantastic staff.
Well, welcome.
Well, thank you. And what I'd like to ask you all is in the future for staff items on the agenda, would you like to know after items leave Planning Commission, you've made a recommendation to town trustees, would you like to have a follow-up on, you know, were your recommendations, was it approved, was it overturned, was there a greater discussion? I'd like to hear from you, and it doesn't have to necessarily be tonight. If you have ideas, just reach out and let me know what kind of follow-up you'd like to receive. That would be great.
I think that's a fabulous idea. We don't generally get that.
Yeah.
Just kind of leaves us and we might read about it in the paper.
So definitely follow up. I know that we're very busy. This week we did receive, on the same day, I think, 2 new annexation applications and change of zone and other developments. So it's a busy place to be, and definitely very happy to have Baseline here helping us out. Great.
Yeah. Can I maybe, so you jogged a thought for me, the idea of like hearing the follow-up. Brett and I were talking a little bit that like it would be great if in the staff packet there was some indicator of like when we'd heard what steps previous to this. And don't take any offense, I know you're both kind of new and covering and this is all kind of crazy, but to be able to go back and get a little bit of the history of the project, to get our heads around kind of where we are, for me anywhere, for being in this position now for a year or so, whatever it is, it'd be great to be able to kind of go back in time a little bit to the older packets and stuff.
Oh, all right. So for example, change of zone and neighborhood master plan X was heard by Planning Commission on this date. This is what you recommended. Town trustees heard it on this date, and this is what they recommended. Just a little bit of context.
Just a little bit of
Okay.
like, yeah, the timeline of it would be super helpful.
Okay.
Like when you give your background in here, maybe in that section to
Yeah.
kind of fill it out a little bit more.
Right.
Sounds good. Like you heard the preliminary plan on this date. Town board heard any follow-up on these dates. This is what they said. Not a problem. That sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be great. The minutes can be a little bit light, so being able to go back to the packet itself of the date and see kind of what was going on would be a good memory jog.
Jen, is the reports thing, is it a little bit of an open forum? I'm just not exactly sure. We'll discuss certain things.
Yes, it is. Generally, well, historically, that's when Adam and Kurt would give their overview of what happened with the town, and then, for instance, when we were going through the comprehensive plan, we had 2 commissioners that were part of that process. So they would give their update on how the comp plan review is going. So those kinds of things were always part of that conversation. So I would say if you have,
I do, and you,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
please steer me. So,
Can I help you guys a little bit?
yes,
Chair Dowker, generally because you are the chair, you would actually,
recognize the commissioner that wants to speak.
you would recognize that you're doing the reports, and then you would, you could start however you want. I think the way I had it listed, I had your commissioner, so you would go down to each commissioner
Oh,
and
I just
ask
saw
for
that.
reports. And
Okay.
then you, the vice chair would be the second to last, and you would be last.
Okay, I just saw this, thank you so much.
Oh, no worries, I'm just trying to help streamline
I
what
appreciate
is
that.
supposed to happen.
I really appreciate it, thank you very much. So in the future, what we'll do with reports, based on what the deputy clerk just suggested was, we'll have the commissioners and we'll just start at one end and go through, then the vice chair.
Okay.
And then if I had anything to mention, and then staff.
Okay.
So that's what we'll do moving forward, if that
Okay.
works.
so right now,
Yes, please.
so did anyone get the impression that this lady who came in actually had some things she wanted to say or challenge anything? Was that anyone's perception?
I think we have to be careful in this arena talking about what we are assuming she might have said because it was public testimony.
That's why I asked, and here's, you know,
It's a legal
I-
issue.
I'm a, you know, legal is great, we gotta do that, but it's also the right thing, and it seemed like we screwed up. And should we have made an exception?
We can't make an exception here legally. We cannot reopen a public hearing, that's why I needed Chris or someone at the staff
Okay.
level to now tell us what we can or cannot do because we opened and closed a public hearing, we can't reopen it
Okay,
because of a mistake later on, because then that leaves us open to legal action by that person whose property we just approved.
I will say I talked to her a bit in the hallway and additionally apologized for my mistake. For her in particular, she was a neighbor to Farmstead Acres, so she was also here 2 weeks ago for the neighborhood master plan and rezoning. So I let her know that those will also be going to town board next week. So there'll be some additional, public comments on different portions of the process for that project as well.
So that's why I was not trying to be rude, but I wanted to be very cautious about what we could or could not do here.
that's why I asked,
I appreciate, there's a,
it was very unfortunate, and
yeah,
these are our residents, we're looking out for them, so I wanna make sure we
Absolutely.
we hear their side. The second thing is, the PowerPoints that are done are very, very good, and they enlighten me sometimes much more than the packets we're getting. So again, might be a legal thing, but do we ever have access to those PowerPoints? Cause I would garnish so much more from that at times than what we have.
that's a staff question.
Yeah, I mean, if we're ready for the PowerPoints, sometimes we're rushing to get the packet done and the PowerPoint will come after that, but definitely we can try to include PowerPoints in the packets, or even some of the information that was in the PowerPoint included the criteria for approval,
Right.
which is in the packet. The mapping packages that was in the packet. What I found good this evening was the renderings.
Exactly.
And those renderings came from the applicant, which we don't have access to oftentimes until that day. But we could start asking the applicant to include their presentation in your packets, and
The
we'll,
illustrations are very good, and
Oh, yeah.
they clarify some,
Yeah.
instead of 8 pages trying to put the map together, bam, and it's color coded, and so that would help,
yep, and I appreciate that comment, and I found that very helpful as well. So you might have to bear with us through a couple cycles, as people are already in the cycle, and we'll ask for those presentations up front.
And the last thing I have is, again, you may rein me in here. There were some comments made at one of our meetings about water in the future, and that there may be some serious restrictions on future growth because of that for now. Without knowing that and us approving 300 homes, I'm just not confident that we have all the information we need to make the right decision. Could
That's
you-
why they have to put the new sewer line on.
Yep, so part of the, and Will, please join me here, but part of the referral process is once we receive an application, the application is sent to water, sanitary sewer, wastewater, schools, the fire protection district, all so that those agencies can evaluate the impact of that particular development to what their service, and make sure that they have adequate levels of service and infrastructure available for that particular development. And sometimes, you didn't see it tonight, but sometimes there will be a condition of approval. Oftentimes we'll ask for will serve letters up front just to make sure that the utility provider is able to serve a development. So when you see something that's pretty well scrubbed, but always feel free to ask those questions in the public hearing.
My last question, I promise. Now, I don't think this applies to you, but maybe a piece of it could. Many of you have years and years and years of experience going through this, and so you know acronyms, you know what a zoning letter means, you know all that. Some of us, I mean, I came out of the business world for 40 years, and this is not intuitive. It's technical stuff, and I was just wondering, in your experience in the past, if there was any kind of education for somebody new coming on, or somebody could take the whole town of Berthoud and say, this is that, this is how this goes, this is what a PUD is, this is how this works. I just wonder if there's any education 1 or 101 for a new guy without background in this genre.
There are planning commissioner books that we've had access to in past. And also some of the stuff that really helped new commissioners was when we do the tours, and we've done that numerous times, where we do tours of the community and talk about densities, talk about zonings, and really give a firsthand impression of this is what commercial development looks like, and this is the kind of stuff when you're on the ground that people can see. We actually went Fort Collins, Loveland, Longmont to really get a real diverse look at different zonings, densities, so that we had a better sense when the public would come to us angry that, oh, it's such a high density, oh, we don't want apartments. It's like, but this is how they can look with all the other development code requirements. So when I was new, I thought those were so helpful to see firsthand. And with each development, we would get, here's what you would have seen at the meeting if this is something you were gonna decide on. Density, setbacks, design, all of those things. So it was really beneficial, and we only did it a couple times a year. And we actually had local restaurants that would like donate lunch or something. When we'd go out, we'd like use the BATS bus, or we'd use a couple different vehicles, go on the tour, come back, eat, and regroup, and then the planner would tell us, now here's what we just did,
Well, that sounds wonderful. I think I'm gonna contact you to find out what was done in the past and some things that were done. And then, so a couple things. I'd like to get DOLA here, and Division of Local Affairs offers wonderful educational opportunities to talk about how to conduct a meeting, how to, what makes a good motion. Some of those fundamental basics that as planning commissioners will really help form that basis for you. Also, the town code has definitions for all land uses, for the different zoning district, what those intents are. And then you can also call me anytime. You can call me with questions. If you wanna just walk through the master plans, if you wanna walk through the zoning code, I just spent last weekend tabbing mine. So I'm happy to walk through that with anybody at any time, just so that you get familiar and feel comfortable with the zoning code. So happy to do that, just give me a call.
This is associated with the other. Another thing, I think I came on, September, October, somewhere there. But I hear from residents, other people, hey, a grocery store is going in here, this is happening, this is being developed. I wonder, and I assume this is public knowledge, if we could get a recap of like everything that was approved at a high level or a certain level in 2022, just so it would be very helpful to me to know, was a 500 lot neighborhood approved? it would just be good for that to be part of my knowledge. So I don't know if anything exists like that today, but it would be great to see what all has transpired.
I don't know.
Good for you too, I think.
I don't know how soon we could generate something like that. I'm sure we could go back through, planning commission minutes and town board of trustees minutes and put a summary together. I just don't know how long putting that summary together will take. One of the things we always have to be careful with is when somebody approaches you and says, oh, I hear so-and-so's going in. And, a good thing to always say is, well, if I talk to you about it now, I'm going to have to recuse myself because it hasn't gone to a public hearing yet. So, because then there is that whole appearance of now not being unbiased. But definitely, we will look at what we can do, and then definitely bringing it to you will help with the recap.
That'd be great.
Keep it fresh.
There is a page on the site that goes
The town
through,
site.
the town site has kind of past approvals and approvals that are in process. You still have to be a little bit of a wonk to get in there, cause it's a little sort of technical, but there is a little bit of history to go into. It's not an overview, I mean, it's kind of immediately a deep dive, but there is a place to get there. I think you get to it via the planning commission site, there's a link to the existing developments.
And I think the town just did a new revision to make it more user-friendly on the
Yep.
website, so.
Yep, we do have the new website, and one of the items that is potentially missing is some of this information.
Oh, okay.
Because they wanted to pare it down until I got here or the new person got here.
Okay.
So we will be looking at that, and that's a great suggestion.
Thank you.
And then the whole public can know too.
Exactly. I just had two quick things, and one was kind of down the same lines along the sewer line issue. Would love to get an overview from the engineers just as what's going on and what it seemed like it kind of came up and it was almost like we can't talk about it, but we have to do it. And then it'd be nice to just get a little bit of an overview from the engineering group as to what's happened, where we are. To Brett's comment, we were sort of told we weren't gonna see a lot of stuff, now there's this flurry of stuff. So seems like something's happened, it'd just be nice to get kind of an overview of what's happening. I'm not an engineer, so I don't need no detail, but it'd be just kind of nice to know the basics of what's happening.
Maybe a work session when we have some downtime.
Yeah.
That might be a way to keep everybody engaged, is just have engineering come and have an engineering chat.
It'd be great. Second one I had, and it's minor, but it has to do with this. There were some inconsistencies between the packet and the presentation, between these two pieces of paper. One called out a public hearing, the other one didn't. The one that didn't, we didn't do public comment for that first item, because it's not called out as a public hearing. But then on the second document, it says then there's public comment. So there's just some confusion and some alignment between sort of the different documents that are showing up in front of us.
I will take ownership for that because with the board, there's public comment on every item. And so that's on me. So if you don't do public comment on every item, we'll tailor it down to just the public hearings.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
that's-
my apologies for the
No,
confusion.
that's totally cool, and I'm not throwing rocks at all. I know this is a
No,
confusing thing.
I
But
understand.
I was totally cool with this until I saw this other paperwork, and I'm like, oh wow, we didn't do any public hearings. I wanted to just sort of
Well,
call
we did
that
one
out.
public hearing.
Well, I know, we didn't do public hearing on the first topic
We
because it
didn't do
wasn't a public hearing.
comment.
Right, that's, yeah,
And
sorry.
so
Yeah.
the semantics matter
To be
because
precise, you're right,
when
you're
you
right.
go to a town board meeting, you can speak at the opening of the town board meeting
Right,
on any subject not on the agenda.
right,
If it's on the agenda, they will open up public comment
Mm.
on that item when that item comes up on the agenda.
Got it.
So it's very different than how we operate.
got it,
We only take public comment during a public hearing.
right.
We don't
That-
open it up.
That was it,
at
and
any
you're
other
right, and I'm
point.
sorry, I meant the public comment, and that was a step we weren't to take on that first item.
Right.
But it was on the second paper, the second bit of paperwork, and gave me a little bit of a panic.
Yep, no, we will definitely work together and make sure everything is very, very consistent.
Sure, yeah. No worries at all.
Yep, and I also looked at that document and didn't catch it too, so.
I didn't either. I didn't know.
You
I'm so enough.
You just knew what you were doing and I was mad.
Did you have?
Yeah, so I guess the first thing I'll say is that when I started in 2020, there was a slide deck of like training slides for new planning commissioners. So I don't know if that still exists somewhere, but that did happen for me at some point, and I did find it useful. I guess my second comment was to bring back up a suggestion that Commissioner Feldbush had a few months ago that I just don't wanna like forget, because I think it was a really great one. There's a really good schematic of the way the public hearings are set up, and I think that we briefly discussed having something very similar for the stages of neighborhood master plan and plating, and how proposed development works through those stages, and that could be something that's kind of like mailed out into I guess, what is it that they receive when you're close to?
The notice?
The notice, yeah, and just so that the people who are adjacent to developments understand what the process is going to look like, because I do think that having so many stages is necessary but also confusing for the people who aren't directly involved in it. So I know that that's kind of like, I don't know who would drive that kind of initiative, but I thought it was a really great idea that would be really helpful for the people who come to give public testimony about these developments.
We will take a look at doing something like that. I don't know if it will be with the mailing, because we're actually wanting to maybe even go down to postcards for mailing, but then directing people to get the full application package on the website, and so maybe we could do something on the website like a
There's
cover.
link or something, yeah.
Exactly, this
Yeah.
is where they are in this process, and this is where they've been and
Yeah.
how they got there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
So
suggestion.
that's just an idea that's come up before that I thought was a really good one.
And you still have Commissioner Kurtz on Zoom, I don't know if he has a comment.
I am here and enjoying the discussion. I'm actually agree with everything that's been talked about. I will say, one thing I have noticed, and by the way, welcome, and I hope we're not scaring you away with all of our conversation.
Kind of an
No.
opinionated group.
No, just I'm a driven person, and I want to have everything done the very next day, and I know that that's not going to happen.
Commissioner Kurtz, she came from Wells County, we're easy.
Well, and I am the chairperson of the Larimer County Planning Commission right now, so I'm one with you on sometimes.
Okay, gotcha, cool. I guess the one thing I just wanted to make everybody aware of is that, so Berthoud, you probably got to notice, has a brand new website. And so, those pages that we're kind of used to finding of what developments in process or what plans have been submitted, I have not actually been able to find this this week. So I think it's probably just because the whole like website behind the scenes deck has been shuffled. But just FYI, if you're looking for something, you might not be able to find it, and might need to email staff or somebody, because it's just a little bit different now. So.
Chair Dowker, would you like me to give you a brief little show of the new website?
That would be wonderful, thank you for that suggestion.
And again, I do know that the building division website is much more polished than the planning is right now. Some of the buttons and features that were from the old website have transferred over. They just might not be as populated. Again, I believe they were waiting for the new staff to come on board and to see if the major changes were wanted. So definitely a current case listing is something with the materials is something that we're wanting to get on there. And I do like the previous year approval too.
So that's gorgeous.
Yep, this is our new website, and then if you go to government, and then you go over to planning commission, this is where you guys are going to find what you normally would want to access. And as you can see on the planning commission, it has all your names on the side there, so. And when
Probably
your
change it
expiration-
from January to Jan.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Jan-
We're just all
Jan-
sorts of screwed up today, are
I
we?
would never have guessed that.
I'm ready for the suite to be over, I think, at this point. But anyways,
I
the,
actually kind of love it.
The
I think
most-
it's cute.
I live
Yeah.
at Christmas actually, so.
oh, that's embarrassing, okay.
Christmas
I
cards.
don't know if I wanna show you anymore now. So the most important thing is the view most recent agenda and minutes.
Oh,
And you just click on that link and then you'll come down here and you'll see it says 2023, 2022, 2021. Currently, right now, after tonight, the February 9th Planning Commission meeting minutes will be under here where it says minutes. And I'll show you what that looks like on another in 2022. So as you can see, you have your December 8th and you have your minutes. And so you can just click on that and view your minutes. And then for the packet, you can click on download. And you can download your packet with the agenda version. And then when we get these guys up and running, they'll be able to do packet versions like how I'm doing the board meeting right now. So you can download it as a packet as well. But you just click on the link and there's your planning commission packet and everything, and you're able to print it or download it to your computer, and it has everything on there for you.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
really great.
That really
Mentioning the
is.
printing, you know, if we've got 8 to 10 pages, I mean, I'm willing to print that at home, that's not a big deal, but when they get to be 30, 40, and 50, I really appreciate the hard copies.
I do too. I'm a packet person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the reason we went away from doing the printed version is because of cost. Is why we had gone away from that, but I do know that they're still willing to, if you requested, to get one printed for you. Was there anything else you needed shown on the website that you weren't sure how to
Thank you.
access?
It looks great. It looks, it's very bright. I mean, it really makes the community look very welcoming to you.
And then if you, on the homepage, if you go down to the bottom where it says upcoming events, you can see when all the different meetings and stuff are, and then you can hit view all events.
So my question, so to avoid things like the the incorrect Zoom link, and believe me, I've been part of meetings where it's like, oh, the wrong Zoom link.
Right.
Is it possible to have them on the calendar if we have a public hearing, or is that too much?
So if you click on more details, it should give you the link to the packet and the information for that.
Oh, okay.
It right here where it says download agenda, that should,
Cause it is on the agenda, yeah.
Yeah, and I think what will be beneficial is in the surrounding property owner notice, we might just not put the Zoom link in that, and we'll just inform the public that before planning on attending a meeting virtually, check the agenda that will be published, and this is where you can get that agenda.
Great.
And then that way, there won't be any confusion, it will be easier for everybody, we don't have to
Yep.
pre-publish a Zoom link when we don't know if the hearing will even come to fruition.
Right.
Yep.
You could always
Great
do,
idea.
you could something as simple as like a QR code on a postcard that takes them to this page. You know, and then you just have one link and everything sort of points to it.
yeah, and Will's defense too, there's been different chiefs putting all this together to have it all ready for
Yeah.
tonight. And I think that was just a miscommunication. I do wanna put out there that we do not have any control over Zoom. So I personally, I don't know how you guys feel about that, would like it if we'd never included Zoom as part of being part of the public hearing, that if they wanted to be a part of the public hearing, that they actually showed up, because we don't control Zoom. I actually, before you guys came in tonight, I literally got done getting our AV system to work again because Zoom wasn't working. So I almost didn't have Zoom, period.
Well, can you
So-
ask Chris that question?
Yeah.
If we're far enough beyond COVID that we can eliminate hybrid meetings per se for public hearings, not for necessarily someone, looking in just like they would a TV or
Right,
something,
right.
but for the legal standing of requiring that for a public hearing, that could take a layer out that would probably make it a lot simpler.
I do think it's
Given-
worth a conversation though, since that is kind of a way that opens doors for people that might not be able to come in person for one reason or another, so I do think it's worth talking about.
Well, because we put it in public notice, at least the planning commission has been putting it in their public notice, then we do have to allow the Zoom participants to be able to participate. If we didn't put it in the public notice, then there wouldn't have been an issue, but now we're going to have to definitely ask, because I don't know what maybe.
I'll follow up and I'll ask. It also provides an opportunity as planning commissioners, if you couldn't attend for some reason, you're traveling for work, or you're on vacation and you just don't wanna miss planning commission, it's an opportunity that you can still attend planning commission as well. And even if we get into a question of quorum and, needing one more person to attend, but definitely I'll check and I'll follow back up with you all the next time we meet on some of these items.
Yeah, that'd be good to have clarified too, because I think that whether or not the commissioners are allowed to attend via Zoom has kind of changed throughout the last couple of years,
Yeah.
so it'd be good to have like
Yeah,
a
we were
clear
told we had to be
directive
here
on
in
that.
person, but
Yeah.
it's like, but then, so. Yeah. Clarity on all of the
Like
above.
me getting COVID 3 years into the pandemic. so-
Exactly. I had it last October, so I know, yeah, it's,
Oh, yeah.
and I've had all the shots, it just still happens, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. I really appreciate all the work you guys put into this though. Thank you for the notes, and I would really appreciate if DOLA has any online training for Robert's Rules of Order or conducting the meetings. I think that'd be great. I know with nonprofits, we have nonprofit training through the state of Colorado charitable division for our boards of directors to understand all their fiduciary responsibilities. So it'd be great if there were online trainings for planning commissioners.
Yep, and I know Casey McPherson and Andy Hill have been doing out and about again, now that COVID has gone down. They did have a pre-recorded training session for a couple years, they were doing that, but now they are making the circuit again. And maybe it's an opportunity to get together with the town board of trustees and have a joint session, maybe even inviting in other communities, but I'll wait and see what they have available for their schedule and we'll keep you posted.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it has been really impressive how little has changed for us, even
Yeah, no kidding.
considering all of the staff turnover, so I think you guys are doing a great
Yeah,
job.
Baseline's holding it together for us and definitely Chris and other members of the team have done a remarkable job and now you just get to, I'm sure I'll make mistakes.
That's. we
Yeah, I was
all
just
do.
gonna say,
We all do. I made probably some tonight.
yeah, well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Well, and if there's no other reports or conversation, did you want?
Nope.
Okay, then I will adjourn the meeting at like 7:18.